This is the symbol for Mars, which is a planet discovered by a Dutch man named Christopher Huygens in 1659 using a homemade telescope. Mars is a cold red dusty planet with a volume of 6.39 times 10 to the 23rd kilograms, a volume of 1.63 times 10 to the 11 cubic kilometers, a circumference of 13,263 miles, and one-third as much gravity as Earth. A regular day on Mars is also 24 hours and 40 minutes. With that out of the way, it's time to go over a few reasons why I think Mars is not capable of being colonized. The first issue is water. Without it, no life could possibly survive for any amount of time. The good news is there's plenty of water on Mars, but the bad news is all of it is frozen into ice caps at the northern and southern poles. If you melt it down, then there's enough water to cover the planet in an ocean 35 meters deep. The next issue is air. Mars has an atmosphere that is very thin and mostly made up of carbon dioxide. However, if we could get people living on Mars, they could melt the ice caps and use electricity to split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, putting the oxygen into sealed buildings and using that to breathe. Food is of course another major concern, because shipping animals is very complicated, so colonists would have to initially be vegetarians. However, plants need sunlight to grow, and since Mars is further away from Earth, it would also get less sunlight. That being said, scientists have experimented with this, concluding that many planets could in fact grow with the amount of sunlight Mars gets, and some could even successfully grow in Martian soil. There are also issues presented with the gravity, considering Mars' gravity is only one-third of that of the Earth's, which is good for building tall buildings with light materials, but bad for bones and muscles. Humans depend on the constant pressure of gravity in order for the development of muscles and bones. Without it, muscles would rapidly deteriorate. But even worse than that is the threat of cosmic radiation. Earth's magnetic field deflects this and protects us from that. However, Mars, on the other hand, has no magnetic field, meaning that the amount of time spent there will increase our own risk of cancer. In order to combat this, we would need something like a huge magnet to deflect the rays. Lastly, the inevitability that something would break means that we would need to be able to regularly resupply. And considering that it costs $10,000 per pound to ship things into space, and we can only send materials up there every 2 years, since sometimes Mars is on the other side of the Sun, it is another really complicated issue. With all of these obstacles, it's clear that Mars won't be habitable until we make significant technological advances. With all of these obstacles, it's clear that we won't be able to colonize Mars until we make many significant technological advances.